Thank you for joining us. This is the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivy, and this is.
I'm John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. We research the benefits of all role-playing games, from tabletop to electronic role-playing games, hybrids, and live action role-playing, where people actually physically do things.
Yeah.
And we study those things to see what their benefits and penalties are for playing these things. And we use that information for therapeutic, educational, entertainment, and leisure activities.
Yeah.
In fact, today we are going to be talking a bit about some of the research that goes behind it. Because with a name like RPG Research, you would expect that once in a while we would talk about research.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and start with that. Have you haven't had much luck at the articles that I showed you?
Unfortunately, no.
All right.
It's been a mentally busy week for me.
Well, I found like 3 articles, and they all came out around July 17th
Okay.
of this year, and it's Dungeons and Dragons Roll for Better Mental Health.
Hold on. Just a moment.
Technical difficulties. We'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Okay. Welcome back to the RPG Talk Show. We had a bit of technical difficulties. My name is Daniel Ivy, and this is...
John Welker, Vice President of RPG Research and co-founder of RPG Research. RPG Research researches the benefits and detriments, if any we can find, of role-playing games in all formats, whether that is live action, tabletop, electronic, or hybrid role-playing games.
Yep.
And we utilize that research for education, entertainment, leisure, and therapeutic purposes. Speaking of which, that is our primary topic today for our Just Talking segment.
Okay.
Now, as you probably have heard or seen if you're one of our guests, we break this up into 3 sections. First is Just Talking, where we talk about anything we feel like.
Yeah.
As long as it's role-playing related in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Where we start is role-playing. Where we go, that is to be determined.
By whichever way my mind dribbles. I mean, anyways, moving on.
You got something leaking right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second segment, we will do our main topic, where we do a deeper dive into a specific topic. But our topics tend to be big enough that they are open to, again, another deep dive into special time. Today we're going to talk about a topic that we can barely talk about because it's so hard to say. Bildungsroman.
Bildungsroma, also known as coming-of-age stories.
Right. It is a German literary genre, but it's about the only genre we haven't hit on in our discussion.
Yeah.
What we're going to talk about next week, we'll figure that out after the break.
Yeah.
After we talk about coming-of-age stories and their relevance to role-playing games, we will move on to our next segment, which is traps and riddles. I will present a trap, riddle, or conundrum for him to figure out. He'll take 15 minutes. If he gets it, hooray! If he doesn't, all his characters die. Painfully and slowly. No, it's not that bad, but it is fun. Then we get into what we call the unboxing segment. We have too many things to unbox to do them all in one segment. So we'll unbox some, tell you about the other ones we'll do later.
Yep.
But the point is, we will cover these topics. Now, some people love an unboxing.
Yeah.
But they also want to know how to play the game. And whether or not this game is recommended for any purposes.
And we're working on trying to get together a playtest show. We're working on that right now.
About a couple weeks from now.
Hopefully, yeah.
And we will start off with a game we will announce later. And we will do a different game every week unless the game we're doing requires more than one session to get a feel for it.
Yeah.
But you'll see what that is. So let's get into our Just Talking topic that I wanted to bring up.
You mentioned that there's a couple of articles related to RPG research? Or in terms of research, yeah.
It is research in reference to Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
Now, the research was done specifically about Dungeons and Dragons. Articles include Dungeons and Dragons Role for Better Mental Health from the Health and Wellbeing or newatlas.com.
Yeah.
Then we also have another article that says study finds Dungeons and Dragons boosts mental health. Now, this is still talking about the exact same study, but I bring it up because this one posts some references or statistics that weren't available in the other one.
So what's going on in these studies?
Well, the studies are not about whether or not Dungeons and Dragons is good for mental health. They wanted to find out why Dungeons and Dragons was good for mental health.
Okay, so because I'm used to what we have, where we have to start from the position: is role-playing games detrimental to mental health? Because we've got especially with the satanic panic and everything, we've had to climb that mountain already. They're starting from a position that it is healthy for mental health, they're trying to figure out why.
Right. Now,
Okay.
this comes from the International Journal of Role Playing, issue number 15. And you can get the whole article, the whole journal from that site. We have citations to show you there. So I'm going to read directly from the abstract, which means I'm going to tell you everything you basically need to know
Okay.
from a 25-page document in one paragraph.
Okay.
Dungeons & Dragons D&D is a fantasy tabletop role-playing game published by Wizards of the Coast. Evidence shows that D&D is being used as therapeutic practice by clinical psychologists, and the reported success of these interventions indicate that it may have positive outcomes for players. RPG research has been done this. Hawk is considered the grandfather of therapeutic gaming. Hawk is the founder, I'm co-founder, and president of RPG research. He has taught several organizations that are doing therapy out there how to do these things. So we've known for a long time the therapeutic benefits of role-playing games. This study is about how or why.
Okay.
However, there's little research that establishes from a psychosocial perspective how playing D&D provides opportunities for supporting frequent players' mental health. So when they're saying the frequent players, they're talking, these people play at least weekly, or if not bi-weekly.
Right.
Now, using semi-structured interviews and reflexive thematic analysis, we aimed to understand better how playing D&D and interacted with players' well-being psychologically and socially, as well as exploring factors that may prove challenging or problematic in the therapeutic context. 6 men, 2 women, and 2 non-binary people participated in the study.
Okay.
Analysis illustrated several processes that are supportive for players' mental health. These features were identified as 5 key themes. Escapism. And escapism is good and bad. There is escapism relief valve, and there's escapism hiding from.
Yeah.
So when they're talking about escapism, they're doing relief valve. Exploration of self, creative expression, social support, and routine. These findings highlight the transformative potential of D&D in therapeutic settings, offering insights into this positive impact. Now, Dungeons & Dragons may have therapeutic benefits, but your dungeon master is not your therapist.
We want to reiterate that.
Yeah. He or she or them are only your therapist if they are actually your therapist. And they are licensed and paid as such.
And you've gone through the proper prep of it.
Right. Now, the authors of this need to definitely point out Earl Walsh, University College of Cork, and Connor Linehan, University College of Cork. Well, actually, they don't even say College of, they just say College Cork.
So it's not a subclass of Bard?
No.
No. Okay. Okay.
Though, yeah, researchers are subclasses of magic users.
Order of Scribes, Wizards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a good read. I did read it. There are some points I do want to bring out from the psychiatrist.com article that 50 million people have played the game over the last 50 years.
So 1 million every years.
On average.
Okay.
3.5, we had a bit of a spike. 4th, we had a drop.
Yeah.
5th, we had another spike, and we're continuing to spike, especially since we are in the 50th anniversary.
Right.
39% of players identify as female.
Good.
And that's been probably since the beginning. The name Dungeons and Dragons was suggested by Gary Gygax, one of the co-authors of Dungeons and Dragons.
Wasn't it his daughter?
It was his daughter,
Yeah.
who was a young child. and she suggested it, so they kept that name. She said that's the one she liked.
Yeah. So basically, what we're saying is, or at least what I'm taking from this, is women and girls have been a part of role-playing games since its inception.
Yes.
Yeah. No need to gatekeep genders based off of,
Yeah.
entertainment, outlets.
They
Same thing
were-
with video games.
They were part of the playtest for Dungeons and Dragons. They were part of the earlier writers, Tracy Hickman, Wise, and others. And the most famous map of Greyhawk was designed by a woman. Women have always been in the role-playing circles, whether you wanted to believe it or not.
In fact, didn't we recently find out that the Bronte sisters were doing some roleplay between themselves and the books that was precursing even chainmail?
Oh, wow. It was precursing the Little Wars by H.G. Wells.
Yeah, it
which
was.
was in the 1913, right?
I think so.
Yeah. 1913, probably one of the first war games that was set for the common man. The Bronte sisters, who wrote things like Wuthering Heights
Yep.
and Pride and Prejudice. No, that's Jane Eyre.
Yeah. I'm going to fail my literature tests right now.
Okay.
But let's just say that entire family of sisters and a brother, who I believe was painting their figurines. Yeah, they had figurines back then too. Very, very talented, very, very influential in the literary scene.
So why isn't that not considered the first role-playing game? Well, it's really simple. They didn't publish.
Yeah, Little Wars is set as simple rules for. Yeah, Little Wars was a
1913.
Yeah, and it is 1913.
Right.
And
And the Bronte sisters were before that.
Yeah.
Sir Walter Scott had a role-playing system that was even before that.
Yeah.
But the fact that the Bronte sisters were one of the few first people to explore into role-playing games with rules, as well as one of the first published science fiction writers, was a female as well, Mary Shelley.
Yep.
So, in fact, one of the first novelists was an Indian woman, I believe, or an Arabic woman. Don't quote me on who that was, but women have always been here, and if you disagree with that concept, you're not here.
Yeah. By the way, when I said they've been in video games, the whole reason why we have bugs in video games is because women found actual bugs in the hardware, and some of our original programmers for say Pac-Man were women. So,
well, the people who did the math for NASA to get the rocket to the moon were women, black women.
yeah. So they've been in the scene for a lot longer. But one of the things that I've kind of noticed with the for example, Little Wars is that was codified war games, and from what I've heard about what the Bronte sisters were doing, they were heavier on the role play as opposed to the war game, and I do feel like that is a bit of a division in our culture of role playing games, where there is the people who want to role play and the people who want to do wargaming.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are the people who want to have both interspecies. I want
Myself.
I want crunchy combat, and I also want good rules for social interaction, because I don't. Yes, the first Dungeons and Dragons were literally just dungeon crawls,
Yeah.
but I want a story.
Same here. I don't want a story. I want a good story.
Yes, not just any story.
Yeah.
And we'll have talks later about the elements of stories and things like that. 40% of players now. How old do you think they are? This is a general age group, above and below.
Oh, jeez. My gut is saying 28.
40% of players are under the age of 25. 11%, I'm in the top 11% of players that are over the age of 40.
Okay.
Now, our oldest player we had was 98.
Okay.
Our youngest players that we've had in RPG research was 2.5.
Okay.
They were autistic children, and he had to do a LARP for one of his college studies.
Okay.
And he did 2.5-year-old autistic children, and he was the only program where the kids made it through the entire thing that they were doing.
Now, I wanted to mention one of the things that I've experienced and why, I feel that to answer their study, or at least to, toss in my two cents to their study as to why role-playing games, which would include Dungeons and Dragons, so I'm expanding it past Dungeons and Dragons, would be useful for therapy is I found that role-playing games gives a, as long as you've got a supportive group, a safe place to explore at times difficult concepts.
Yes. If you have mature players, if you're using safety tools,
Yes.
if people aren't going to get blindsided by a mature subject
Yeah.
that they don't want to cover.
And, as long as you don't have, for example, an adversarial GM, that is just going to make everything worse. But, if you have a supportive group, you can tackle difficult topics in role-playing games.
Okay, now, I hate to get on a side note here, but I think we're still stopping and starting at the same time. So our just talking is going to be a little cut short today.
Okay.
A couple things I want to point out quickly is that remember that role-playing games are becoming so normalized amongst people that the Boy Scouts in America and the Boy Scouts in UK both have badges.
And I'm irritated by this.
Because they didn't have it when you were there.
Exactly.
2019, we had a badge for gamer design, and one of the things you had to do was analyze games and offer suggestions on how to make them better. And that could include playing Dungeons and Dragons, so that could be part of it. Now, while the UK one is specifically for Dungeons and Dragons and not just game design.
So I was in the Boy Scouts. I was in the Boy Scouts since 3rd grade, and I exited when I had to because I aged out at the age of 18. So I was in Boy Scouts for a very, very long time. I got into Boy Scouts before I got into role-playing games. I would have appreciated a badge for role-playing games.
Now, the last thing I want to say before we eke our way into a short break is there's a backer kit game out there called Ion Heart. It's a lo-fi solo mech TTRPG. Yes, if Hawk was here, he would have a heart attack because tabletop is only one letter.
Yeah.
So you don't need both. But we're not going to convince the world of that anytime soon. Maybe eventually.
That was Ion?
Ion Heart.
Okay.
And Ion Heart was funded in 6 hours. It is a solo role-playing game. One of the stretch goals was to allow for 2-player mode.
Okay.
And I think we're going to talk a little tiny bit about it later when we talk about our Bildungsroman. Bildungsroman. When we start talking about that, remind me to bring up Ion Heart again.
Okay, let me
as an example of what I think is the Bildungsroman and what I think it might be useful. I have to get a copy of this and find out, but I think it might be useful for PTSD. Soldiers, specifically for soldiers who have spent time in combat.
Yeah, although I do want to, because this is something that I've experienced with myself and others where I know that you were in the military, I was not.
Right.
I do want to point out to our audience that it is not required to be in the military to have PTSD.
Oh, it definitely isn't. Any traumatic event can cause that. The only reason I'm saying specifically for soldiers is because the theme of this is soldiers and their mechs after the war.
You're going to have me rewatch Gundam Wing, aren't you?
Gundam Wing is actually one of the references that they did. Like I said, we'll talk about this more later. We'll see you in approximately, say, 4 minutes?
Yeah. 4 minutes sounds about right.
Yeah, we'll see you in about 4 minutes, and we will start back on our regular schedule and
Yeah.
do our main topic.
Okay. See you in a bit.
Yeah. Which is why we try to drag it out a bit so that it allows for the delay. Yeah. I swear, if that is Twilight 2000X, I may go into debt. He made that decision. I went with it. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna get up and move around a bit, and hopefully. As part of our future research, I need to know about Little Wars. Yep.
Time's up.
Okay. Lasers.
Fast 5 minutes.
It was.
3, 2.
Whew.
Trying to pause this. There you go.
Okay. Ooh. Okay, main topic.
Welcome back to RPG Research's talk show. My name is Dan Ivy.
I'm John Wilker, Vice President and co-founder of RPG Research. Check in the chat and you'll see more about us, rpgresearch.com.
And I don't know anything about a hot mic.
As long as you don't burn your hand on it.
Okay, good. So we are talking about a main topic today?
Well, the main topic is, we've been talking genres
Yeah, we
the
have
last
over the-
several weeks.
Yeah, over the several weeks.
And I think the only one that we really haven't covered, and you guys in the audience can correct me if I'm wrong, but the only one I think we've missed so far is Bildungsroman.
It is a bit of a tongue twister. It's a German word. I believe it's pronounced Bildungsroman.
Bildungsroman.
It is German for education or forming, and the Roman means novel.
Novel of education or novel of formation.
Actually, novel as in story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not new of it's novel of.
So it's a story of forming or education. And it is very much connected to coming-of-age stories.
Yep.
Very, very much like one of my favorite movies, Sandlot, which
Yes.
is an amazing coming-of-age story.
And that is a extremely good example. I just saw another movie I thought was going to be Sandlot 2.
Uh-huh.
But it starts off as a Sandlot and turns into some kind of horror movie.
Oh.
So I didn't know what to go with
So
that.
yeah, no. And there are a couple of others. I'm tempted to say like Breakfast Club as well.
Well, yeah, Breakfast Club. I just watched it not too long ago. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes.
Yeah, not Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
Anybody? Barris?
Yeah.
I'm going to make that wrong all day.
Well, American Pie I would include in there. Naruto less so.
I actually disagree with you. Naruto is not less so.
Okay.
Because it's all about him getting that maturity and going for.
I just feel like there are more shonen, action adventure, highlights to it. But yeah, I can see that. Nana, yes, absolutely. Nana is a coming of age story for two of them. Actually, a few of them. All of them are just. And this is one of the things that I've seen with these coming of age stories, where you tend to take a group and kind of put them through hell.
Right. Now, one of the things that's put this, even though it's considered a coming of age story,
Yeah.
we have already mentioned its education and formation. So it could be an adult.
Yeah.
The Gentleman, I think it was called. Louis Gossett Jr. as an officer, and the young officer trying to become from a street kid to an actual officer. The most famous line is, "I haven't got anywhere else to go."
And this actually gets into one of the things that in my research I came across, where if we take the idea of a coming of age story where you've got a life problem that a character or characters are going through and they're trying to figure out how to deal with that, there's an expansion of the concept which broadens the genre but kind of still deals with those. And in Save the Cat, which is it is a book about writing stories, they have this as a genre, which is rites of passage.
Well, you know who literally is teaching a master class on this topic?
Who?
Judy Blume.
You know what? I think Judy Blume would be really good at that. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
she's the far as modern storytelling, and modern being within my lifetime. 21 Jump Street. Yeah, a little bit. Except, it was more of the adults coming into terms with the life that they were doing.
I can't
Benny and
say-
June, yes.
Benny and June, yes. 21 Jump Street, I haven't seen, so I can't say.
It's about cops pretending to be teenagers so they can catch criminals in high school.
Right, but that is the premise. That doesn't necessarily mean.
Right, that's why I'm a little shaky
Yeah.
on 21 Jump Street.
And generally, we find out that it is a coming of age story along the journey and seeing how things are tackled.
Right.
And I wanted to mention, like, in the rites of passage, there are a number of other rites of passages that I feel are really good. Watching people deal with these momentous times in their lives.
Right.
So, according to my list, we have pregnancy and childbirth, and going through that transition.
Right.
We have birth and childhood, which technically would mean that Rugrats is a rite of passage.
Well, yeah, it is a story about them coming of age.
Yes.
It is episodic and non-linear, but it is still about them coming of age,
And one of my favorite, actually,
coming
I
into
take,
toddlerhood.
I take it back. It is my favorite cartoon. Rocko's Modern Life would be that, yes, but that is not my favorite one. Hey Arnold is. I absolutely... People don't understand how much I love Hey Arnold. I love Hey Arnold.
And Hey Arnold is a good story about dealing with the subjects he has of growing
Yeah,
up.
absolutely.
I mean, Phineas and Ferb is one of my favorite stories, but it is not a Billings-Roman.
No, it isn't.
It's
It's an endless summer.
yeah.
It's an endless summer. One of the reasons why I absolutely love Hey Arnold is you can take, and there is an episode or two where this happens, we can take just about every single one of the kids, toss them on a psychologist couch, and analyze them. And they're dealing
Some of them
with,
more than once.
yeah, some of them more than once, and some of them should probably be institutionalized afterwards. But they're dealing with real problems, just through the lens of their age.
Yep.
And they don't demean the kids. They don't demean the problems.
They don't demean the audience.
They don't demean the audience. I absolutely love it. And they deal with very, very complex topics. And no one's perfect. No one's perfect in the Arnold.
Yeah, people who think they're perfect annoy those of us who are.
Oh, funny. Funny. So
All right.
there's also initiation rites,
Yes.
betrothal, and marriage. And I have some things to say about that and how so many stories...
Careful, your wife's listening.
She's going to agree with me here. Where they have, the series ends after the couple that have been going on and off again finally commit to each other, and then it ends. No, I want to see what happens afterwards. I
Yeah.
want to see what a healthy relationship goes through.
What is happily ever after?
Exactly. And then there is people coming to terms with that, with mortality, and that they're invariably going to die.
So, as I mentioned last time, we talked about
Yeah.
Ion Heart. And I can hear some of the people in the audience at least whispering, what's this have to do with role-playing games?
Uh-huh.
So let's get into some examples of
Okay,
that.
let's get into it.
And we're talking transition and learning how.
Yeah.
As soldiers that leave the military for whatever reason, they have to literally transition
Yeah.
from being a military personnel to a civilian personnel. And
Yeah.
for some people, that can be a real challenge. A game, it's a solo, a lo-fi solo, mech TTRPG, Ion Heart, is designed to explore that transition from being a soldier with your mech, who's also a character in this story,
Yeah.
and finding what your life is afterwards.
Okay. So-
You could be anything from a sheep herder to a police officer,
Okay.
or whatever it is, but you still have to deal with the fact that you're no longer the military.
So, Hearth Holmes asked, "Are You Afraid of the Dark?" is a coming-of-age story in the realm of horror and can easily be adapted to. In the episodic, yes, and I do feel, considering that some of the characters kind of age out and you see them age in, and you see them developed. Yeah, I could see how that there could be coming-of-age aspects, especially to the meta conversations before the horror stories, and maybe even in some of the horror stories Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, it I think was a attempt at that.
Yeah. I feel anytime you're dealing with teenagers, presenting something, you get a bit of that coming of age. But that life issue of coming from war and trying to come to terms with you're no longer in a war zone. I can think of a few people who, even if they didn't go to war, could could understand that. If someone,
Right.
for example, has only ever been in a violent household, and now they're in a healthier relationship where they're not in a perpetual threat, that's tough. That can
Yeah.
be very, 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 very problematic for them.
That's why I'm hoping Ironheart might be a useful tool for dealing with PTSD, whether that is from a dangerous household or the streets that you lived on,
Yeah,
or just a unlucky bad day,
yeah,
or if you were a combat vet. This is a tool that I hope you use. People can find it on backerkit.com and look up Ironheart.
yeah. I believe we have that earlier in the chat. But,
Yeah, probably.
But I think that has a lot of potential. We were looking into some other role-playing games that could potentially tackle the topic of rites of passage.
Yeah. Do you have any computer games that you would recommend?
Yeah.
Okay. What some computer games do you think fit this model of coming of age or transitioning from one phase of your life into another?
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange is actually on a article called "The 7 Best Games About Growing Up." I'm surprised it is so low on the list. It's only number 3. I think it should have been there above Persona 5 Royale. I like Persona.
I haven't played Persona. We have Last of Us, and I can see that as well.
The Last of Us, good call. That is number 5 on the top 7.
I'm probably going to mispronounce because you put me on the spot, and I immediately went to some of the most triggering games that I can think of.
Okay, we're not going to talk about that one where the kid gets put in the box.
Okay. Oh no, I'm talking about some of my friends will understand this. We're I'm not just going to go for I don't go for jump scares.
Right.
I go for this is going to hurt. No, not like Binding of Isaac.
That's what I was talking about.
That's. What about? Isn't there one called? And I'm going to mispronounce it. I'm fairly certain. That Dragon Cancer.
That Dragon Cancer is an excellent. It is a coming to terms with an actual feeling, and it's not on the list, and it probably should. But it's the gamer.com/the best games about growing up. And the Dragon Cancer is just the opposite of a game about growing up. It's about not growing up.
Yeah, and
in the worst way possible.
I apologize right now for Rain for bringing that one up. But, that is a real video game. It does hurt. I know. I haven't played it. I know what's in it. I'm sorry. It is a rough video game.
If you have somebody dealing with cancer, you might want to take a look at it. If you're a therapist, you probably should take a look at it.
Actually, if you have someone who's dealing with cancer, don't play it. Help them first. If you anticipate cancer, watch that before you get into it. You don't want to deal with that type of that type of rough situation on top of the rough situation that is cancer already.
Right.
Yeah. Now, as you can think of any others that are less traumatizing that Dragon Cancer.
That Dragon Cancer was written as therapy for the person who was writing the game. So expect that level of raw emotion.
Oh yeah.
From a video game.
No, that one deals with gaslighting.
You guys did good. You've named 3 of the top 7.
Okay. What's number 1?
Boyfriend Dungeon.
I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen it. I haven't heard of it from this one. Fighting monsters in a dungeon and becoming close to others is one part of the game, but the protagonists themselves, the goal to learn how to live in a new place alone and ultimately grow on their own. It's kind of a dating sim a little bit, but it's growing up thing, and they call this the number one.
Okay, I have another one.
What's that?
Undertale?
Undertale's great, and it all depends on how you are playing it, whether or not
Yeah.
it's about personal growth or not.
It has the potential for personal growth. Yeah.
It does. So number one was Boyfriend Dungeon. Number two was, and my son would love this because he is a Persona 5 fan. I'm not sure if he knows about Persona 5 Royal, because it's supposed to be a better version of Persona 5.
Okay.
Especially growing up and only looks like going through puberty and becoming an adult. There are also connections with others going through the same thing. And it is it's a game that you really play for the story.
Okay.
Some of these games are games that you actually pay for the story more than this. Life is Strange.
Life is Strange. God of War. The most recent ones where they've been focusing more on the story.
Okay, God of War. It also happens to explore many Norse, incorporating some of the best boss fights in video game history. But his son Atreus is the one you're talking about.
No, I'm gonna include both of them. I'm gonna include both his son and Kratos, because he has to come to terms with many things. He himself is going through a rite of passage.
Okay, this list is about growing up. So why God of War could be a Billings Roman, the growing up one is specifically focused on his son Atreus.
Yeah,
and
I will give that. I'm just admitting that that it can. How should I put it? Kratos is a man-child.
Yeah,
in the early part.
And we're talking about bigger than life. Even the gods are bigger than life. They're bigger than godhood.
Zeus is a man-child.
We all knew that. So that was number 4, God of War.
Yeah.
Last of Us was number 5.
Okay.
Number 6, What Remains of Edith Finch.
Okay.
Plays a bit of a walking simulator with objects and areas you interact with its grandiose host. That's only way to progress through the story. Moving through home, you'll uncover family members' past and the difficulties of their lives growing up. There's more details to it.
Okay.
But this is another one. And number 7 is one I never heard of. You probably never heard of. Unpacking.
No, I haven't heard that one.
Unpacking holds a lot of emotion, surprisingly, even though everything is told through unpacking your belongings as you move houses throughout your life. The game's goal is to unpack the box.
Hurts.
It does. It's meant
This
to.
hurts.
Place your items through the correct places. You can put these items anywhere as long as the game says it's all right. After all, you're probably not a great idea to hang your shirts on the oven door.
Oh, man.
You can make it look as clean and stylish as you want or place them wherever is easiest. But however you play, you'll never be able to shake the looming dread that comes with growing up and eventually starting your own family, going from childhood room to a shared home with a family you created.
That description did me dirty.
It's...
And I think there was some collateral damage over there in tech. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's metaphorically a perfect concept of showing people's growing up every time they moved houses and they're unpacking boxes and all of these memories and the potential future of this new place.
And if they have to say, like, okay, you can't bring this with you.
What gets left behind? Now, here's a funny thing. And I understand why it made the list. Life is Strange made the list.
Yeah.
And it was... it's there for a reason. It is a good coming-of-age story. And it is a great story. I had as much fun watching a Let's Play of that than I would have had playing it, because the story is the most important thing in that whole thing. But a nostalgic journey through life penned by Life is Strange lead writer is called Growing Up. That's
think I've heard that
literally
one.
the title of it.
Yeah.
It is available right now on Steam. And this is the story of your life, experiencing the entire journey from toddler to adulthood. Go to school, learn new things, meet your new friends, and have wild adventures. Every choice you make will influence the future career and decide who your romantic partner will be. Who will you become? It's a complete life sim.
Okay. So I have another one. I know it's not going to be on this list because that list is specifically about the
Growing
building
up.
trauma and growing up. I wanted to bring up one that I feel perfectly encapsulates the kind of like with that dragon cancer, kind of like going through the futility that is life and understanding that death is inevitable.
Which one?
Actually, technically, it's an entire
Series?
series. It's an entire company that keeps on putting out games like this, but it's Dark Souls.
I'm going to completely disagree with you. Because you don't learn acceptance or anything. You just realize it's all futile. Come on.
That's the acceptance right there.
The board game starts off with a note saying, "You're dead."
I know. Elden Ring. Yeah, you are going to die.
All right. I don't think that qualifies. But that does qualify as a grit builder.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is a grit builder.
So, what about tabletop RPGs?
Okay.
There are LARPs out there, by the way, but
Yeah.
I didn't do research enough to pick out specific LARPs. But Norwegian LARPs tend to deal more with the emotional sides of the role playing than, say, the Japanese, who deal with the horror side of role playing,
Yeah.
and the American, who deals with the beat people over the head with sticks side of role playing.
So, I have
Note: generalizations are general, not factual.
yes, and there is a bit of satire in there as well.
Yeah.
But I have, with the exception of Ironheart, there are 4 games that I can think of. 2 that are more the process of becoming a vampire only if the game master storyteller has that as his story. So there's a
Right.
potential for that. But and honestly, that's any World of Darkness line. But I have two role-playing games that are kind of in that age setting, and then I have 2 that I feel work with the concepts of coming of age, where you're dealing with morality, because we, if we're talking about coming of age, we're dealing with growing as a person, and
Yeah,
need-
finding maturity, finding your moral center.
right, and it is actually at times difficult to find mechanical ways to implement morality. I know that as a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, I like the alignment system, but I also acknowledge that the alignment system isn't a way to mechanically set up morality.
Do you want our next topic to be about behavioral guidance in role playing?
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, let me write that down.
We can definitely talk about the mechanics of morality and honor.
And I'm going to bring up 2 of those in my next ones, but in my last 2 that I'm going to mention. But first, in terms of the setting of basically children and dealing with children, the humanity point system in Vampire the Masquerade actually is not very good. Because that is... okay, so this is getting a bit early on into behavioral guidance. We found with the humanity system, people tend to gamify that, and that doesn't necessarily say this is, for example, replicating empathy.
Right.
So, I wanted to mention in terms of like, teenager-esque coming of age, age, we have Bubblegum Shoe and Kids on Bikes.
Okay, now we're talking about the tabletops.
Yeah.
Kids on Bikes from evilhat.com/product/bubblegumshoe, which is a variant of gumshoe.
Okay.
Gumshoe is actually done by a different company. They are called by Robin Laws, who wrote Gumshoe, and it's Pellegrine Press. But they definitely cover the topics of what happens in the high schools. Now, this can be set very modern. Someone stole my kid's brother's bike. Someone sabotaged the pep rally. Someone destroyed the homecoming queen's reputation. Now, even though this is written for teenagers, it is definitely at the lowest rating of PG-13.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I want to bring it up, because it's dealing with some of the topics, but it's not necessarily dealing with the mechanics of morality and acceptance and whatnot, which is why I wanted to bring up the next two, which are, two that we tend to train. One, Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space.
Yes.
Has a system where, and this is an example of it.
As well as the second edition of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Where the way their mechanics works is whenever you choose an action, especially in a combat setting, there is a priority system. Where if you talk, instead of rolling for initiative,
you declare your actions.
You declare your action. Talkers go before runners.
And runners go for doers.
Go before doers, and doers go before people who are attacking.
Violence.
So you are actually penalized for choosing violent options.
As well as gratuitous violence or evil acts can lose you story points.
Yes.
And story points can keep you alive or allow you to operate miraculous devices and things like that. Or churn I fumbled to I just barely got by. Or turn I just barely got by into a glorious ending. You gain or lose story points based on your behaviors.
Yeah, and that's built right into the mechanics. And for people who are just trying to gamify it, well, they're going to gamify towards, okay, I'm going to, let's see if I can find a talking option before I punch him in the face.
Right.
Which, for someone who may not be, that socially, antiquated.
Right.
Yeah, if we have to teach empathy, take it before you make it.
That is true. People who are trying to learn social cues, other options besides violence. This is one of the ones that definitely encouraged safe things. You mentioned Kids on Bikes.
Yes, I did.
So I wanted to point out that Kids on Bikes by Hunter's Entertainment is the 1980s version, and it's now in its second edition, by the way. It is Stranger Things.
Yeah.
It is E.T.
Yeah. By the way, all of those are Buildings Romans as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Kids on Bikes now has spin-offs.
Okay.
Teens in Space, Kids on Brooms.
Okay.
And coming out soon, Kids in Capes.
Okay. I kind of like the idea of Kids on Bikes first.
Well, yeah, we have Kids on Bikes. That is your standard things you can do. Have your superpowers that occur in Kids on Bikes. So you can play with 11, or you can have E.T. as part of your story, or whatever. But these are the types of things that Kids on Bikes excels at, and makes it a good building Roman.
Yeah. So one of the others that I mentioned in terms of mechanics for dealing with morality and empathy is I'm not sure if it's in the new version of the One Ring role-playing game, but I do know that one of the versions we've, as a part of RPG research, we've taken their fellowship system and implemented it into Dungeons and Dragons.
Right. So there is Adventures in Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Which was the 5th edition version of
the
One Ring role-playing game. The
Yeah.
first edition. Both of these were done by Cubicle 7, just like Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And in both of them, you have shadow points for if you are doing bad things, or bad things are happening to you,
Yeah.
or just being in a bad place, like a haunted house,
Yeah.
or a barrow where where people are buried and there's rites about. But there's also the fellowship focus,
Yeah.
where you have more of a focus on a friend or companion, one person above the rest.
Yeah.
As exhibited in the Lord of the Rings team ups, you see the elf and the dwarf.
So, I want to point out a specific difference between Star Wars tabletop RPG and the light points and Sith points. And this is one of the issues that we've had with it.
That's the older system he's talking about there, because the newer system did not have those.
So we've found with the light points and the Sith points that people tend to gamify it, whereas in the shadow points for the One Ring role-playing game, if you get too many, you lose control of your character. There are in-game ramifications for getting too many, as opposed to with Star Wars, if you get too many Sith points, then
You're just a Sith.
you're just a Sith, and you gain more powers for that. That's not building empathy. It's not building morality.
Right. The another example, though, of such Sith points is in 2nd edition Ravenloft from Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
In this campaign, they introduced dark or shadow points.
Yeah.
Same name as the ones they used in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But it works on a temptation system. At first, you get a little extra. Oh, I suddenly can see in the dark. And there's a
Yeah.
little tiny thing, but my eyes glow or reflect back like a cat's.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's a temptation of power.
yeah, it gives you the temptation of power. And each time you do something, as you build up more points, and there was tables for what items did this and to whom you did those items to.
Yeah.
For example, murdering a peasant was a lot of points. Murdering a rampaging werewolf was maybe 1 or 2.
So honestly, that seems to me that that's an opportunity to gamify being evil.
But
Uh-huh.
just like in The Lord of the Rings, you become too many points, you lose your character. He becomes a monster, and your players, the other players, including your new character, may have to face off against what you created.
Okay.
So, while it feels like you can get that gratification there, it's not the thing to do there.
Yeah.
I do want to end this on not everybody likes Bildungsroman.
Correct.
Award-winning
Oh, yeah.
RPG designer. His name was Jeff Vogel, founder of Spiderweb Software and author of many CRPGs, states that he hates it. I will now describe the 2 worst things about these games. It will be a 2-part column, since this only way that space will be big enough to contain my hate. The first horrible thing, fantasy role-playing games are unique computer games in one thing. They're fundamentally about starting out weak and learning to be strong, and the learning process generally involves a lot of tedium. Early Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
The weakest possible character you can start with was a first-level wizard with 1 hit point and a useless spell that you could only cast once per day.
Yeah.
Now, of course, once you got up to the higher levels, 5th, 9th level, and higher, you became the most powerful thing in the game. If you could survive that first level of being completely useless.
Yeah.
His other kind of problems was that they had to prove that they deserved to be competent by enduring the tedium. And he says that and the games I write are no better. I do exactly the same, sure. Thing, it might be cool to make your game where the character starts out at level 50 and then trashes bozos, but it wouldn't sell as well. The addictive statistic increasing time eating quality that is a problem with these games is the point. He just says he's tired of starting a new game and being a loser. Which is why some people, including Dark Sun back in the day, suggested starting off at 3rd level.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be that puny loser that barely able to flush a toilet with both hands.
So I feel like, and this is something that I've seen with some of the commentary that I've come across in the role-playing space, is some people are treating their personal experiences in role-playing games, and admittedly some very common experiences, as the rule.
Right.
Yeah, when I run role-playing games, okay, you know, my first level characters, I don't want you feeling powerless. Mind you, I don't ever want you feeling powerless. You could have 1 hit point, I want you to feel like you're empowered.
One of the things that I've heard people mention about, you know, your lower levels, 1st through 3rd level,
Yeah.
that is your backstory.
There is an argument for that.
Yeah. That is your ramp up to being a hero. Some people complain that, well, at 1st level in basic Dungeons and Dragons, then you started as a worm and grew to become a hero. And while in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, you start as a hero and grow to be a god.
Yeah.
But for first basic Dungeons and Dragons eventually got you up to Immortals, where you literally played gods. All the other things had epic level play where you had gods. 5th edition doesn't allow for godhood. And yes, you have, if you think your 1st level character is too powerful, you haven't played against me.
Yeah, that, and I feel it's all a matter of stakes. But, you know, we're, you know, this is obviously a very, very, you know, weighty topic, and we're going to have to find another time to talk, you know, to go into it. I believe we're going to be going on a 15-minute break.
Sure, at 15 till, right?
Yeah, and then we will get
Is the clock wrong?
5-minute warning.
Oh,
5-minute warning.
okay, so we've got in 5 minutes.
Warning does not mean end now.
I'm sorry, I'm misreading my clock. In 5 minutes, so... But, yeah.
We have 5 minutes to get into this.
5 minutes till break. But I feel like it's a matter of stakes. Okay, if a 1st level character, you know, I can figure out, and this is something that I've been working on personally, where at the various tiers, I want players and characters to feel like they are affecting the world in a meaningful way. And I do feel like this is connected, especially in Dungeons & Dragons, it is connected to the tier of play. 1st through 3rd level, you're helping a neighborhood. And if you feel like that is below you, then maybe you have a misunderstanding of how important community is.
Right.
Okay.
And maybe you're thinking you're going to come off starting as Clark Kent.
Right. No, I don't want you starting off as Clark Kent. Clark Kent didn't learn his powers in Metropolis. Clark Kent learned his powers on the farm.
In Smallville.
In Smallville. Okay? In 4 through 10, okay, that is the prime leveling area. I don't want people feeling like, okay, they're making an impact in the world, but they're not world shakers yet.
Yeah.
I want by the time you're 20th level, people are coming to you because the world is in danger. You're dealing with some serious, serious things, and if you've played long enough to see that, oh, I started back in this community, and there are all of these pocket communities over here, and all of them rely on me? That's a lot weightier than, yeah, I'm Superman, without the morals. I can do whatever I want. Screw them.
There's an entire show on Prime about that. But
The Boys?
I wasn't going to name it. But You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
There is actually a list that goes with the basic RPG where they discuss that you start at local
Yeah.
and you work your way up to regional, then kingdom, and then continent and or global, and then the multiverse.
And actually, one of the things that I've been working on is trying to figure out a way within the Dungeons & Dragons setup to, well, we don't have rules to ascend into actual godhood. And some people say that, oh, they're practically gods. I think I've come up with ways to like, no, you're not a god yet. Godhood is more powerful than 20th level. And it should be.
Right.
Yeah. So I've come up with
One of the
some
early
rules for
game's
that.
first mistakes was giving God stats.
Oh, yeah.
Because if it has stats, I can kill it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that, gods can't die. In fact, that is kind of the premise of my homeworld, homebrew campaign, where, spoiler alert, the gods start off as dead, and there is a power vacuum.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm not saying gods can't die. I'm just saying gods should be incredibly difficult to kill.
Well, and one of the ways that, like, I think this started in 3rd edition that they cover the idea of whether or not gods can die is, some people wanted to face off against Thor
Yeah.
or the Dragon Queen.
Yeah.
And you want Tiamat, Takassis in Dragonlance.
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead. But realize you're only fighting an aspect of it.
And that is one of the things that I've been coming up with my rules. Well,
Yeah.
Basically, the idea that I have is I'm building a set of epic boons, which can only be acquired after 20th level. And
Right.
there is an ascension of power in this divine area. And there's one where, you start off as for example, you're now the equivalent of, say, an archfey. Or
Right.
an archdemon. They're not gods yet. But they have a personal realm that they're a bit more powerful in. Okay? Then, you get an avatar that you can send out into the world. And if they die, you're not dead. If you were to die, they have to come to your home and kill you.
Speaking of dying,
Yeah?
in the next segment, we will start our traps and riddles.
Oh, yes.
And it'll be Challenge of Champions 2. And this is the 3rd test for this Challenge of Champions out of 10. We'll see how well you do it. And of course, following that, we will do some unboxing and give
Now, I
you
know
some
that
heads
we've
up.
been having some issues with the Challenge of Champions, but I do want to let people to know we are working on getting it a little bit more punchy.
Right.
Yeah.
Without punching each other.
No, you're not seeing a melee here.
All right. So we'll see you in 15 minutes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for joining us at the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivey, and this is...
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research, 501c3 nonprofit organization run completely by volunteers. No one gets paid from the president on down.
Nope.
And we, of course, like every 501c3 nonprofit, we'd like you to go to rpgresearch.com/donate. We need material for the shows, materials for us to research, and we also need the money to keep us running.
Anything will help. Yeah. Now, we are going into Traps and Riddles.
Yes, traps and riddles.
From what I see, I've got... this one is called Grunt Girth?
Grunt Girth. Yeah, each scenario has a different name. This is the third scenario of the second Challenge of Champions by Jonathan M. Richards. The artwork was by Rags Morales, and the Scenario 3 map was done by Chris Perkins. And that's the scenario you're doing.
I think I've heard of this Chris Perkins before.
Yeah, you might have heard about him. You know, he's like the rules guru or something like that for Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons.
That's probably why, yeah.
Yeah. So this is in dungeon number 69.
Okay.
Way back in the day.
All right, so I feel compelled to say something about that, that number, but I'm going to refrain.
It just seems like a nice number to me.
Pretty nice, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so you are led to an oddly shaped room. You can now flip over the map and take a look at the map that's being showed to the audience.
Let me flip this thing over. Yeah, this is the... Okay.
Now, the room is flanked by two 20-foot diameter pits and points out your meager starting equipment. You have two 18-foot long boards and a cloth measuring tape. Oh, there's one more item of starting equipment.
A pig?
Well, the pig is in the starting equipment.
Okay.
It's a ring of mammal control. Unfortunately, it gets to start way over there. If you see on the thing, it says box with ring.
Yeah.
Points to a small box on the far side of one of the pits. On the box, you can see a small ring. Now, the whistle blows.
Okay.
Here's your task briefing. Your quest this time is an unusual one. All you must do is measure the girth of a runt pig found over there. He points to the room across the other pit. And then exit through the far door within your 15-minute time limit.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it. And those are 20-foot long, 20-foot diameter pits?
20-foot diameter pits, and they are 18-foot boards.
18-foot boards. Okay. Two 18-foot boards?
Two of them.
Two of them. Okay. And I have the measuring tape?
You have the measuring tape.
How sturdy is that measuring tape?
It's strong enough to use as a measuring tape. I probably, you'd have to find out. I'm not sure. It's good enough for lacing up your shirt. No, we have not strength tested this measuring tape.
Okay. So I'm going to be a bit creative here then, because I don't trust the tape for what I originally wanted it to do. So this is what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'm going to take those two boards. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm going to find about where they are halfway.
Okay. Halfway down the board. So you want to find out where 9 feet is?
Yeah, about 9 feet.
Okay.
I'm going to have them overlap by 9 feet. Then each person in my party is going to take off their shirt, wearing that that they have something underneath, because we don't want it to be turn this into an R-rated show. Take off their shirt, and they're going to tie the ropes, the boards together, so that together we've got 9 feet plus 9 feet is 18 feet, plus another 9 feet is 27 feet.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to make sure that that's nice and tight. We're going to use that to cross the pit heading towards the box with the ring.
All right. So who's going first?
Roberto the Lizard. I think the rogue is going to be probably the lightest and most dexterous to get across that board.
Okay. Now normally
he's going to shuffling and going to go on for all fours. Make sure it's nice and safe.
What race is he?
Roberto is is looking at here. Roberto the Lizard is... Why can't I find it? Why can't I find it? Is the Lizard because of his ability to climb walls? He's proficient in a short sword and dart. Roberto the Lizard, he's chaotic neutral, which doesn't matter. 5 hit points, Thaco 20. I'm not seeing a race.
All right, alignment, character, armor class, move.
I'm not seeing a race at
Thief
all.
1, Thaco, damage by weapon strength. So if it doesn't say he's a human.
Okay, so human. Yeah.
Okay.
But better at climbing, so I figure I'm going to go with his strengths there.
Okay.
Okay.
So normally we would have you roll this.
Yeah. But
I'm double checking here, making sure there's nobody else. Okay. He weighs more than your wizard, but he's going to go ahead and try to get across. And as you see, he gets across to the other side.
Yeah.
But the board's definitely bowed in the middle. You're not sure if it can handle a second trip.
Okay. That is a problem.
Could be.
Okay. So he is going to take the box with the ring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And his partners are going to bring that board back over, reinforce the ties.
Okay.
Okay. Inspect the board. Doesn't look like it's cracking.
No, it just looks like it's really very hard to tie a secure knot using a shirt.
Right. I just don't have a rope.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too bad you don't have any other way of doing this, I guess.
Well, I feel like you're hinting at I wanted to suggest maybe using the a tape measure to bind it, but I don't want to destroy the tape measure if it breaks. And you said it looks like it's good for that. I'd rather risk it with the shirt. So, let's see here. We've got the two boards. I'm gonna try something.
Okay, what do you want to try?
Okay, I know that the pit is 20 feet.
Yep.
And the board is 18. I'm gonna see if, from where they are, if they can angle the board across, not directly across the center, but across the edge, to see if I can make it across with just a single board.
Well, as you can see in the image, there is not a good distance that you could come over to, say, like the corners.
Yeah.
And then come to the next corner, because that inlet at the middle is right in the center of that space. So it is going to cross through the middle anyways and be having to deal with the 20 feet.
Okay, so that thing is, that little stick going in is actually there.
No, I'm not sure what that is, other than it's supposed to show the depth there.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, that's not there.
Okay.
That what you know what that is? That's a line from the word pit to the middle of the pit.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, that's
So
not
I'm not
physically there.
it's there. Okay. Okay. So the thief is
With the box.
with the box is going to motion over to his companions, and they're going to take the two boards
Yeah.
that are still tied together and kind of lean it over towards him, and he's going to put the box with the key, because he's not trusting himself to throw it, on the board, and they're going to carefully drag it back so that the box with the ring is in the center.
In the center of the pit?
No.
Oh, in your section.
In my section where the boards are.
Okay.
Yes.
So, we're going to pretend that you rolled a nat 20 and got this over, because, this is an incredibly difficult thing to do. You're talking 18 plus 18? minus a foot each.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. That is incredibly hard to keep as a balanced item.
Okay.
But we're going to assume that you rolled that natural 20 that would be required to get that over without dropping the ring into the pit. All right, so you got it over there. Now you have the rogue alone on the other side.
Yes.
You have the ring with you.
Yes.
Now what are you going to do?
They're going to take the combined boards and put it towards where the pig is,
Yeah?
so that it branches over, and I'm going to risk it. Let's see here. I think I have a druid in here.
You do have a
The
druid.
druid is going to put on the ring of animal control
Okay.
and have the pig cross the boards.
Okay. Kelly Greenbrier puts over the you guys you send the boards over there.
Yeah.
Uses the ring to try to convince the pig to come to you.
Yes.
All right. The pig gets about halfway. The boards sag. The pig falls into the pit. And the wizard that was watching there immediately
It's over, yeah.
casts Featherfall, because that would have actually killed the pig if not.
Yeah.
And you are over.
Okay.
With 6 minutes to spare.
Okay. So explain to me how I should have done this.
All right.
Because I feel like I don't want to spend too much time overthinking. So that's one of the problems I've had in these previous ones, where I tend to overthink.
So
what's the solution?
Can you show us the solution, please? Oh, tech god. There you go. You line up one board on the edge. I thought you were about to come with this. And make the distance shorter that you have to have the thing. So you can just step over on there and get across.
I wasn't going to math that. I'm not bringing pi and Pythagoras and trigonometry into this. No.
This is just simple geometry. Not even trig. And if you had figured it out, you probably still would have left your rogue behind.
No, if I could have figured that out, the rogue would have come across.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you were just running out of time, that's all.
Yeah.
So-
Actually, I wasn't even watching the clock. I was just like focusing. I need to get this done. What's the easiest way? Combine the two
Completely
boards.
understand, and that's why we do these things.
Yeah.
But that was, and by the way, I've had to do this for real in the Army.
I believe it.
It's called a leadership challenge, and figuring out how to get insufficient tools to work for your favor was one of the things that we had to come up with.
Yeah. I mean, mind you, my other idea was to try and use the 18-foot pole as a pole vault.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah. You could do it once.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
this is the first one you failed in this challenge.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
All right.
I'm not going to beat myself up about it too much. There you go.
Yeah, you
I think
might
I have
as
some
well go ahead and
unboxings.
mark on your roster, put a little X by the one that you failed. So
I think I'm going to remember that.
You gotta remember that for a long time.
I'm not salty at all.
Yeah, you're a little bit more pepper, maybe with a little sprig of lemon.
No, there's no lemon in my beard. I wiped it off. Yeah, I'm not salty at all. I believe we have some unboxings now.
Yes. Let's go ahead and start with the actual boxes. One of these I got today, and the other one I think we'll start with the one that is already open, so to speak.
Oh, okay. Not Pixies?
Nope, Pixies. I consider that open
Okay.
because it's already exposed and stuff like that.
Okay, give me just a moment here. You guys don't need to see that. There we go.
Dun dun dun.
Pixies.
All right, I'll
Looks
sit
like
up high
this
enough.
was, 50% off.
Yes. Well, interesting thing.
Yeah.
While I got this for 50% off at Uncle's Games in Spokane Valley, it's actually 50% off at the website.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is the TriStat system, which is a variant of Big Eyes, Small Mouth.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be completely compatible with Big Eyes, Small Mouth. There are two other games, one called Demon City, and the other one is not demons. Oh, worms. So it's about playing as dragons.
Okay, that's cool.
But this is Big Eye Small Mouth, which is an anime role-playing game.
It is. I've heard of it before.
Same company that does the anime, Big Eye Small Mouth does Anime 5e, which is Dungeons and Dragons themed to be anime.
I can see that going in bad ways and good ways.
Yep. We have other anime themed games out there. Some of them are for 5th edition, some of them are for others. But this is Pixies, and you get to play as a pixie in a real world sized thing. So,
Nice.
and fortunately, one of the other kits that I get has a nice map of a dinner table.
Oh, that's cool.
That's from HeroClix, I think. So that you have a full scale playing on the dinner table type game.
So there's one thing that I can immediately notice is they use D6s
with sigils for 1. Notice right here, we've got some type of sigil. This is the 1 as opposed to the 6.
We've seen this before.
Right. Now, is just the ones are changed?
Let me double check. Just the ones are changed.
Okay, can I see one?
Yeah, here you go.
All right.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out if that's a pixie or a word or a number.
I'm not exactly sure what that is. Looks like some beautiful art, by the way. So, we have a booklet. Yeah, I can see Big Eye, Small Mouth. Role-playing adventures. And it looks like we've got some character sheets in here as well for the Pixies. Look, we've got Body, Mind, and Soul.
Which is the TriStat system
Yeah.
Big Eyes Small Mouth is based on.
Okay. And illustrations of the characters.
That's a beautiful picture.
As I said, these are some beautiful pictures. Let's see here.
Huh? I'm looking forward to playing this. How many characters do we have?
I'm counting right now. That's 2. We've got 3, 4, 6 characters.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to playtesting this.
Okay.
I did play Big Eye Small Mouth back in the 80s. Maybe early 90s.
Now I am.
But I haven't played it since, so I don't remember anything about how to play.
So I give me just a moment. I want to check something on this. Give me just a moment. I'm going to hold off on that because I wouldn't want to.
Spoil something?
No, I don't want to besmirch anyone for, anything.
Okay. I do not
No,
believe
don't-
these are AI. These better not be AI.
But
Yeah,
we've also
Worms,
got
Demon City, and for $14.95 you can get the TriStat Core Rulebook. And they're all 50% off right now.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
$34.95.
by the way, we've got some amazing environments as well. We've got our little mushroom houses. They are very much going after
Are
a
there
certain
stats on behind each one of those?
theme. This is, I guess, scenarios.
Oh, okay.
These are scenarios. And Belle the Cat. There we go. And someone's SimCity house.
Yeah, 32-page full-color rule book, compatible with Big Eye Small Mouth 4th edition. 6 brief story scenarios. You can start playing adventure right away.
Now, I don't, you mentioned AI art, and I don't want to claim that this is AI art, because, one, I can't confirm this, and, just because I'm not sure about something doesn't mean that it is AI art.
Right.
And I don't want to besmirch an artist who's actually worked hard, which is why my background is in art. This is very contentious for me, but I also know that some artists are actually that good, and that is their style. I don't want to besmirch them.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm not going to make any claims that it is AI art. I do hope that the artists are always properly compensated, because starving artists is a real thing. I'm familiar with that.
People die from exposure.
Yeah, if you're dealing with artists, don't try and pay them with exposure. People die from exposure. It is insulting. They have. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes skill, and they have bills to pay. That's plain and simple. They can't eat. They can't pay rent with exposure.
I tried once. They laughed at me. In fact, there's a place out there that is says it's a restaurant, and there is a $5 per item upcharge for, or I think it may be just all prices are doubled for influencers. Who come in there and want to get a free meal and offering exposure.
Yeah. So let's see here. We've got chapter 1 is learning concerning pixies, pixie traits, and the unseen folk. What exactly is a role-playing game, which we've seen in many, many role-playing games talking about that. Notes about size and a game glossary right there in chapter 1. So this is not going to be one of those games where within opening it you can start playing.
No, somebody's going to have to read this.
You're going to have to read through this. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it has many pages. The character sheet is on page 32, so 30 pages? It's not that bad.
Yeah. Let me take a look at the it is 32 full.
Yeah.
Let me see one of the stories.
One of the stories? Sure, absolutely. One of the scenarios?
Yeah, any one. It doesn't matter.
I'm just grabbing one. There we go. There we go.
All right, this one is called that beautiful artwork right there.
Oh, yeah.
Scenario 6, Graves and himself. Scenarios for game masters only. Do not read this page if you're a player. And it is only one page. So if you know the rules,
this is adorable.
If you know the rules, you should be able to get into a quick story, but you're going to need to know the rules first.
Yeah,
these scenarios are not going to teach you the rules.
No, but they do have rules on how to create custom characters, and we have a corgi being ridden by a knight, and I believe corgis are considered like pixie mounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, fey mounts. So yeah, I love that little knot details. That and corgis are just adorable.
There's a reason the queen had corgis.
Let's see here. Assign attributes. So, yeah, they've got rules for creating a characters. Weasels! Weasels! Yeah, you remember my character Madcap Ann?
Yep.
She would absolutely love that. Yes, I want to build a halfling, also known for my character, a trailer hobbit, ranger whose animal companion is a dire weasel.
So instead of playing if you're playing this game, instead of making him a trailer hobbit, you make him a trailer brownie.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Madcap Ann is just a treat to play because she's high energy and just bubbly. And she saw a weasel and decided, I'm gonna ride that, and jumped on.
It's an attack weasel, mind you.
Yeah, and the attack weasel got attacked, and I think I tamed it.
Let's go ahead and read the back of
Yeah,
this
go ahead and
to
read
give
that.
people a better example of what's happening here.
Yep.
This is a Ready for Adventure TriSat system mini game for your RPG game night.
Yeah.
As I said, there are 2 other and I'm thinking of getting them next Tuesday.
Yeah.
One is about demons, and the other one's about dragons. Humans will know them by many names: pixies, brownies, sprites, fairies, elves, imps, gremlins, borrowers, and men and more.
Oh, I remember the borrowers.
Oh, one of my favorite books ever.
Uh-huh.
Pixies, as they call themselves, are tiny magical beings of fey origin who typically stand about as tall as an apple. Unlike
So about the size of this guy.
Hello Kitty, who's 4 apples tall and weighs 3 apples.
Yeah.
Recently, through communities have scattered and forced into the shadows during this modern world of technology, secularism, and globalization. Individual pixies can endure for hundreds of years, but they prefer to live in the now and relish every possible moment and sensation. Pixies role-playing game is a group storytelling game about wee fae folk claiming their space in the human-sized world. This is a game of pranks, heroism, adventure, romance, and imagination. Yet, unlike a traditional board game, the possibilities for exploration and action in the role-playing games are endless.
So with it being an actual role-playing game, yeah, it is as good to be expansive as your imagination.
Now it's 2 to 12 players.
Yeah.
We'll go with 6
Generally, we try to go
plus
with
the
6.
DM
Yeah.
as our high end, but I don't know. I haven't tried this with larger groups. We'll have to do that. It ages 10 and up, and it should be 1 to 6 hours per game.
Okay.
So some games are going to be shorter. Some of this is we
Yeah.
like to go for that middle ground, 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, we do. Okay, let's go. What is next?
Dun, 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 dun.
It's in this box. I'm gonna just pull it out of the box right now.
Yep, that way we the stuff that I meant to spend my time marking out all my addresses on off of.
There we go.
So
There we go.
2 books.
We've got 2 books here, and we've got a whole lot of stress relief packets.
Wrap your kids in bubble wrap.
We've got the One Ring Moria through the doors of Durin.
If you're not a Hobbit fan, Moria is the mines of Moria,
Yeah.
which in the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Nine had to cross in order to get from one side of the mountain to the other safely.
Okay. Oh, there we go. There's that. From our tech crew.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then we have
I'm
Moria.
not important. You don't need to see me.
And then we have Moria. So we've got 2 books for Moria. Shadows of Khazad-dûm.
Right. So why do you think there are 2 different books?
The deeper you go, the worse it gets.
Nope. They are not sequel books, or
not?
you need both books to play.
Oh no.
Read the titles.
Lord of the Rings. Oh, one is for 5th edition, one is for the One Ring role-playing game.
Right. So we have the 5th edition Lord of the Rings game,
Yes, we do.
and we have the One Ring game. They're basically the same game, but with different rule sets.
Yeah.
5th edition Dungeons and Dragons rules, trying to recreate the One Ring.
Yeah.
And then the
there's
actual
some,
One Ring.
There's some success there, and sometimes it kind of falls apart depending on what you're looking for.
Right. I have not played the One Ring version yet, and so I don't actually know if Fellowship is a part.
I really hope so. Because I like the Fellowship concept, like we were talking about it earlier.
I have ran many One Ring games. I run them regularly at community events, and I prefer it to the Dungeons and Dragons version. I did cut my teeth at Adventures in Middle Earth. As far as running games for the One Ring, I did play in MERPs and other systems before that.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we mentioned the Fellowship, or at least I was trying to allude to the Fellowship focus that we have incorporated into many 5th edition games, where this is the idea. Okay, you know, and this is something that if you have a whole bunch of players who tend to be a bit more selfish, and you want to more party cohesion, the Fellowship focus is a technique that can be used. Just let them know before you start. Always let them know about homebrew rules before you start, because it's part of the consent and informed gaming.
Right.
Okay? What happens is, let's say I, Daniel, and I'm playing, I just mentioned Madcap Ann. Okay? And you are playing another character. I'm going to choose his character as my fellowship focus. I believe that I have strong connections to that character.
Now, he can do this regardless if my character feels the same way.
Right. So there can be and now everyone has to choose a fellowship focus. They cannot choose themselves. What happens is everyone has advantage. They can use it for themselves, and it's gone. If they use it for their fellowship focus, they get it back.
Right.
They can use it to help others. The problem is, if something bad happens to their fellowship focus, something bad happens to them. I believe
Shadow points.
we either use shadow points or exhaustion.
Mostly shadow points,
yeah.
because too many shadow points will lead to exhaustion on its own.
True, yeah.
And your travel rules have levels of exhaustion.
And this was an example of what we were talking about in terms of simulating empathy. By gamifying, if something happens to the person that you care about, something bad is going to happen to you, you are now incentivized to make sure that less bad things happen to the person you care about other than yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really hope that they have some version of that in here and in Lord of the Rings 5th edition, because I think it is very, very useful.
A king he was on his carven throne. There's information on the back.
On the back. A king he was on carven throne, in many pillared halls of stone, with golden roof and silver floor, and runes of power upon the door. For long ages, the great city of Darodalf was the seat of the dwarven kings. Deep they dwelled beneath the roots of the mountains, in search of Mithril, the fabled Moira silver. Wonders they wrought there, by the light of the crystal lamps. But 1,000 years ago, Durin's bane arose and drove the dwarves from their halls. The city fell into darkness, becoming an abode of orcs, goblins, and worse. No harping is wrong, no hammers fall. The darkness dwells in Durin's halls. The shadows lie upon his tomb in Moria, in Khazad-dûm. Yeah.
There was one time supposed to be a box set coming out that had all the maps and the other things.
Let's practice it. Oh, there's got a map of Moria in here.
Yes.
Nice. Both over bird's eye view and horizontal.
And that's not everything.
I'm pretty sure that's. There's the rest of the book here.
Right, but I mean, we have seen examples of the maps of the mines of Moria, and compare it to
This just fell out.
what they, this is the little trail they took. This is what they left out.
Yeah. So looks like we've got a larger map. Oh, the paper quality on this is amazing. Feel that.
Yeah. And this is that is nice.
That is really, really nice paper quality.
And this is the paper quality I expect with their works.
Yeah. So we've got an oversized map of Moria.
Same one you were seeing in the inside the book, but bigger and easier to read.
Oh, they even have the lake.
Right,
But
where the nameless thing dwelled.
On the back, we have, I believe they use stances, and it, instead of, I believe,
you don't necessarily need to use miniatures in the One Ring.
Right.
It does rely on stances of whether or not you are at bow range or in close range,
right,
and whether or not you are in open, aggressive, or defensive.
yeah. So they have like a little example of that on the back. That's what the concentric circles you're seeing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. They also have a
Now, because I have 2 books, I should have 2 of those maps. These
Possibly.
books are going to be really close to each other except for the stats.
Yeah. There is also a bookmark. 2 of them.
Very useful for
Very-
finding. I usually just stick those in the places that I have to keep referring to back to the most.
Yeah, and giving you 2 is allows you to flip back between 2 or 3 depending on where you were and what you need to reference a lot of. And this is some beautiful artwork. There's I love crows. Me and my edgy self.
Well, and
Dwarves.
this artwork is very similar to the artwork that was in the first edition
Yeah.
by Cubicle 7. And
I wouldn't be surprised if they, brought over a lot of people.
they did. In fact, the main writer for both systems moved over to Free League. So this is about the biggest difference between the old Adventures in Middle Earth and the One Ring first edition
Yeah.
and the One Ring second edition, which is what he's holding in his hands there, and the Lord of the Rings rules. The primary difference between the two editions is where they're located.
Ah, okay.
They're on opposite sides of the Misty Mountains.
Okay. By the way, yes, so much edge, much lord. Unfortunately, I'm not a pizza cutter. There is a point. All edge, no point. That's what a pizza cutter is. I try to have a point.
Even if it is on top of his head.
I'm not a conehead.
You're not from France?
I'm not about to besmirch the French. Nope. They make some beautiful and wonderful food. They have gone through their own trials and tribulations. And let's just say that I've seen enough of them rioting to know that they know how to do a good riot. It's not a proper French protest unless a bathtub has been thrown through a window.
I do point out, though, that the Coneheads reference was the fact that in the old days where the Coneheads was a TV series, and before that when it was a Saturday Night Live sketch, their excuse was they weren't aliens. They were from France.
Okay. See, I didn't... So, this is an example of cultural differences. I didn't grow up with Saturday Night Live. No, I grew up with In Living Color.
Which was great, but came after Saturday Night Live.
I know, but for me, I grew up with the starting of Jim Carrey and the Wayans brothers, and I've seen the movie Coneheads, but honestly, when I grew up with Jim Carrey starting cutting his teeth as Fire Marshal Bill, and some of the nonsense that was going on with In Living Color, I can't really go to Saturday Night Live because it's not as funny for me.
Well, the old Saturday Night Live is severely funnier than the new Saturday Night Live.
I mean, mind you, there are some things that I still like about Saturday Night Live. For example, there's two comedians that write each other's jokes, and I find that fun, amusing.
Yeah, the people are doing the news.
But it's still, for me, not the same as, Homie the Clown.
Homie the Clown was hilarious.
Yeah, and Fire Marshal Bill, and there was some very, very just off-color stuff on there that you had to have a bit of a spine to be able to handle. Okay, so you weren't allowed to watch In Living Color. I wonder why.
My father never watched In Living Color. He had a black and white TV.
There's some jokes there.
Okay, let's take a look at Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. It's going to that same thing that I eloquently stated is repeated on the back here. So I'm not going to.
They're basically the same product, but with a different rule set.
And again, there are the bookmarkers, two of them.
Yep. Should be a map falling out of here.
There's a map. Let's see if there's a map falling out. There it is. But
and if you compare the maps side by side, there shouldn't be any difference.
I feel there should be a difference.
There's no stats on these.
Oh wait, it's not different. See, this is what I was thinking would be different.
Because you thought that was stances?
Yeah, I thought this was stances.
Okay, well let me take a look at it and see what I can figure out what it really is.
But let's take a look at the 5th edition stuff, and there's that.
Oh wow.
Uh-huh.
It does say determine range, opening volleys, choose stance, end game. Does the other one say the exact same words?
I think so.
Yeah.
5 players.
Let me grab that for you.
actions.
I'm seeing something interesting.
This is the combat rules.
Those are the combat rules? Here's the other one.
Rearward defenses, open forward.
Oh, if you can't
These
tell the
look like
difference-
the One Ring
Yeah.
combat rules.
So one thing that I'm seeing here right at the and my eyes kind of just immediately gravitated towards this. Oh no, that's someone that was credited for 5th edition conversion. I thought they had an entire chapter on that. I'm just misreading it.
Okay, here's an example.
Yeah.
So they're using the stance method for this for both systems now, which is not something they did when they did Adventures in Middle Earth. So in the One Ring, it is prepare a shot, rearward stance. The player hero makes a scan roll. On a success, the attacker gains 1 die on the next ranged attack, plus another 1 die for each Gandalf rune roll. No, Kenwa roll,
Okay. Hot mic.
which are the 6.
No, it's the mic isn't that hot.
Look it.
No. No. I don't know where it's been.
All right. Now, they prepared shot rearward stance. Player or hero gains advantage on the next attack range in the combat. Since it requires their action, this attack will likely occur in the next round.
Okay.
So they are different, but like I said, I haven't played the new 5th edition rules, and the old Adventures in Middle Earth, which was the 5th edition rules for that, did not use stances.
Okay.
I'm really going to have, we're going to have to play test
We're going to
the
do
One
a deep
Ring.
dive on this, and this is something that I do want to, I want to go into because there's so many things in Lord of the Rings, the One Ring role-playing game that we have converted over. Hawk is a massive, massive Lord of the Rings fan.
Every July we have Token Moot,
Yeah.
which
Is
is,
this one for 5th edition?
that is the One Ring,
Okay.
and this is 5th edition.
Okay, good.
So the
No
only
worries,
thing
no.
I have against these now is that you have to actually pay attention to what map you put where.
Yeah. I mean, there we go.
And that's not on them, that's on me for having both systems.
Oh, curses.
Yeah. Or I should say us as RPG research, because
Yeah.
we're not completists, only because we're not that rich.
No, we're not. But yeah, Hawk is a massive, massive Lord of the Rings aficionado.
Yeah, every third Saturday. Mm-hmm. Is it the third or second?
I don't keep track of when he has Talking Moots.
Just go to tokenmoot and .org and or .com. You'll find it.
Yeah.
But we are having an official smile of the Token Society.
Oh, there is stats for ring white. There are
Of
stats
course.
for ring white. What's the CR? Oh, that's a CR of 3? Nah, I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Can I see that? There's no, like you said, I don't see. Look up ring rights in the other book.
Well, I don't know if they're going to have challenge ratings.
No, they're not.
No.
But they're going to have another number up in the right. Deathless, Sunless Night.
I mean, mind you, I just kind of stumbled across that, so I don't know where it is.
Ring right. That doesn't make sense.
Is there monsters? Where are you, monsters? Solo play, appendix, playing, mithril. You're asking me to look up for something that I stumbled across. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, this is page 146, which is probably not going to be
Yeah,
the
that's
same.
not going to be it. But let's go over to 146.
It's the Lost Citadel of the Ringsmiths.
Lost Citadel of Ringsmiths. Let's see, where is that? Lost Citadel.
141.
We're
We're going to have
141.
I don't know. Do we want to do an entire show on comparing the two systems?
You know, as much as I think some others would enjoy that may found it.
Okay.
That may not be that engaging for some people. That may be a bit too niche.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, we are going to have to do it anyways for our own.
Oh
course.
yeah.
So
I'm taking a look here. There's a ring white, attribute level 6. I don't know what that means.
that's going to indicate what he's going to use, how many dice he's going to use to roll.
Okay, I know that he's got a hate of 6, so he's not getting to Kendrick Lamar level yet of hate, but he's getting up there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that these are. See, wing white might be. Maybe it's wing wraith. It's a white, not a wraith.
True.
And that makes a difference.
What about Drake?
I don't know anybody named Drake except for Hawk's son.
Yeah, but Drake's son hasn't had his career utterly murdered. If you're not aware, I'm making some references to recent events in the hip-hop sphere. I'm not claiming to be a hip-hop head, but it was enough for even me, someone who is a self-proclaimed rocker, to pay attention to.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. What is that?
Solo play.
Ooh, solo play.
Now, they have a thing called Strider mode,
Oh, let me take a look at that.
which is solo play.
Solo
The
play.
artwork here is absolutely beautiful.
Oh yeah, and you know what? I respected what they went with, where yeah, you can go with beautiful colored pictures, but sometimes to get that these are tomes,
Yeah.
black and white or grayscale with a little bit of tinge from the color of the pages. I really do like that artistic choice. I respect that. It gives some consistency throughout the entire series, and this is one of the things that I liked about 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons, where the book felt like you're holding a tome.
It even looked like it.
Yeah, the pages makes it look like I'm holding a tome. Now I see, if I can get one that looks like a tome on the outside and feels like a tome. Well, these pages feel like tome pages. And
Yeah, well,
look
this
like
is
tome
good
pages.
quality art, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you can use the the rule books as props. Just a thought. But I think these are absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Free League, I think, does consistently good work, especially if you're not a huge fan of Wizards of the Coast right now. Look into Free League stuff.
Francisco Nepatello did the Cubicle 7 and the Free League rule set.
Yeah.
This is about as this is one of the newest role-playing games that does the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, but it's also the ones that feel the most like playing in that
I
world.
know you've played some of the One Ring stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, it does feel that it does capture that feel of being in Lord of the Rings.
I'm going to say definitely
Okay, that's
yes.
good. I know that can be a hard thing to nail down because it's nice and it's a subtle feeling.
Yeah. And you know, it is more like the travel is just as important as the destination.
Yeah.
The separating important conversations into audiences and using those rules. The downtime is handled a bit different.
Yeah,
it's a mandatory part of the story
Yeah.
called the fellowship phase.
And that is something that I like the idea. I kind of wish that I could incorporate into my own home games because I do respect it a lot.
Yeah. Funny enough, Cubicle 7 also came out with a set of rules for Journey rules for 5th edition that are stripped of the One Ring.
Wonderful.
And
I'm going to have to search those out. Here I'm nerding out and knocking over books.
I just took the Adventures in Middle Earth and used their journey rules straight through my regular 5th edition game.
How did that handle?
It was handled very well. And it was, we went through all the steps, rolled for encounters, and all those cool things that we did. I'm using a different method right now because in my 5th edition, taken from a 3rd edition game, all the encounters are mostly written in there already. It's better for either a homebrew game or where somebody would normally say, you travel from point A to point B and that's it, and you want to flesh out that point A to point B and it's not written in, then I would go with that. But my entire journey is mostly fleshed out all the events that happen and start in those areas.
And that's one of the things that I will gladly say that I'm a fan of 5th edition. I like the rule set despite some of the things that have happened. Not necessarily a fan of the company, but the rule set I think is perfectly serviceable.
Yes.
But it is not perfect. And as a
standard which does not exist.
It doesn't exist. And as someone who, how should I put this? If you know 5th edition and the history of this, I like playing Rangers. And it has not been a happy ride for me.
I think you'll be happy with the 5.6.1.
I'm happy enough, but I remember because I pay attention to the design of what's going on with 5th edition. Back when they were starting 5th edition, they said that there's 3 main core pillars of Dungeons & Dragons. Combat, social, and exploration. And the exploration pillar has been severely neglected. And I feel like the journey rules that I've seen from Cubicle 7 can fill that out really, really well.
Yes, and as repeated in here, I don't know if the One Rings journey rules are going to be better than the Cubicle 7's ones. I'm going to try them both out.
Yeah.
So, we're getting really close to the end of this. What I want to bring up is that in maybe 2 weeks...
We're trying.
on a Wednesday, starting at 6 p.m., we will start the playtest, RPG Research playtest.
No, I believe I'm already studying up for
Avatar: The Last
Airbender. By the
way,
way,
Avatar Legends, because you can put it in any of the time frames.
Okay. Avatar, by the way, Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legends of Korra, also Buildings Roma, they qualify as coming-of-age stories.
They're children growing up, literally.
And sometimes in war and having to deal with, especially after The Last Airbender, what happens if you're in war but you're a pacifist? And you have to come to terms with that. That's more than just, oh, I'm growing up. Yeah.
Right.
By the way, if you ever wondered whether or not Avatar: The Last Airbender is just for kids, no, that is some hefty story writing. It is beautiful.
So let's talk about what we're going to talk about next week.
Okay.
Our Just Chatting will be decided about 12 seconds before we start or the day before. Because it's literally going to be what we're talking about. If he comes up with a topic that he wants to talk about, we'll hit that. If I come up with one or...
We talked about behavior guidance.
Well, that's our main topic.
That's going to be our main topic. Okay.
Our main topic is going to be behavioral guidance, and we will talk about the different systems that use it and what is the difference between a good behavioral guidance system and token economies and things like that.
Yeah, and
versus...
we kind of touched that upon already, but we want to go into that a bit more.
Yeah. Also, we're going to go into things like why it's not a good idea to just say the stormtroopers take you away.
Yeah.
Carrot versus stick and all those other good things. So that's going to be our main topic. Our unboxing will be, if you can take a quick show of them.
Okay.
You've seen us unbox these before, and I will do them every month when they come out. So we have Dungeon Crate, and we have Dungeon in a Box. I get the Wondrous One Shots. They do have other versions. I'll talk more about that when we unbox these next week.
Yep.
At some point, whether we do it during a unboxing or if we do it during a play test, we will discuss armor classes, cheat sheets for player characters, and other things that they provide as accessories to help people out.
Now, one of the things that I also, as we're coming near to the end, is one thing that I want to start incorporating, but not today because we have to do some auditing of the community. But to try and engage with the community a little bit more, I do eventually want to start incorporating us at the end after we do our sign off, rating a community member who's in the scene. Look forward to that in the future.
Yeah, we're going to, as more audience participation we get, the more we're going to incorporate that artist participation.
Yeah, fumbling over there.
Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so ways to contact us. We are on everything /RPG Research.
Yeah.
Twitter, Twitch, Facebook.
I don't think we have a TikTok.
We don't.
We don't.
I had to think about it.
No.
Heck, we have a Truth Social account.
Okay.
Just because we do not exclude people unless their behavior tells us to exclude them.
Yeah. So that, and if one thing that I found is you can't expect people who you don't necessarily agree with to meet you halfway if you don't at least first offer, okay, I'm willing to listen to you. I'm willing to treat you like a person. Okay, that's just courtesy, and at times that is how you bridge the divide.
Right. We can't have prisoners in jail or in prisons, gang members look for better ways unless we're willing to reach out to them and teach them a better way to do things.
Yeah.
This goes for all community parts. Mm-hmm. We want to be supportive of all the communities, and some people need different types of support.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's one of the things we're looking for. Look forward to our next week's show. Mm-hmm. Look forward in a couple of weeks. We'll do the play tests.
Yeah, working on that.
We're going to do live role-playing, a full campaign of Call of Cthulhu at some point.
We're working on that as well. That's going to be a little bit further down, but you gotta work out the kinks first.
And we got to do not Barnes and Noble. We are going to do Call of Cthulhu. No, we already said that.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Oh,
it's almost 9 o'clock.
Baldur's Gate
3. I'm going to try to play the Dark Urge as a paladin.
Lawful good.
Yeah, I'm just going to try to be the most good Dark Urge I can. Some people say it's impossible. We will see. How many people want to bet whether or not I lose my oath in the first chapter?
See, I feel like if you're playing that, I want to find... I want to be right behind you, physically, as you're playing, acting like... don't squint your eyes at me.
He's going to jump scare me to death.
No, I'm not. Do you know Evil Ash in a,
Yes.
Evil Dead? Hey, I want to play like, who's it gonna two-shoes? Who's it gonna two-shoes? Who's it gonna do? Right behind you. Just make it harder for you.
Well, I also need a co-player who's allowed to not be as good as I am, but they're not going to be evil either.
No. But,
okay.
I could just be straight up disrupted.
Emails. info@rpgresearch.com. Use the subject line talk show so I know who you're trying to talk to.
Yeah.
rpgresearch.com/donate. You know what that's for.
Yeah.
We do appreciate you all watching and enjoying the show with us. We will see you next week.
Have
good night. Dream well.
Yeah. Do you know if the mics are still